Chosen one. Stop scrolling for a moment. Heaven has frozen the feed of time because this message carries your confirmation. You are not seeing this by chance. You are standing in the proof of victory. What felt like failure was never the end. It was the moment before revelation. You've been through nights that stretched longer than courage, through silences that pressed against your ribs like stones. You wondered if heaven still remembered your name. But even in your darkest hour, the light never stopped flickering inside you. There was a season when you thought everything you touched turned to dust. Yet the truth is, you were learning to build with ashes. Every closed door became muscle memory for your faith. Every unanswered prayer carved the space where new glory would rest. According to the writings in Micah, chapter 7, verse 8, though I have fallen, I will rise. Though I sit in darkness, the Lord will be my light. That verse was written for nights like yours. It is the language of the resilient, the anthem of those who refuse to drown. You didn't survive because you were lucky. You survived because the light inside you refused to negotiate with the dark. Imagine a lighthouse standing in the middle of a storm. The waves crash higher than the tower itself, wind screaming against its frame. Yet the keeper inside doesn't run. He trims the wick, guards the flame, lets the beam cut through the storm. That lighthouse is you. You have kept the flame alive, even when the sea called your name. Once there was a chosen one who walked through a valley of unseen battles. They smiled in daylight, but wrestled shadows in silence. Every step forward felt like a betrayal to the pain behind them. One night, exhausted and shaking, they whispered, God, if you're real, I need you to prove that this isn't the end. The next morning, the same sunlight that rose for kings broke through their window, and in that simple beam of light, they heard it rise. From that day, they never saw the dark the same way again. You are walking into that same sunrise. The reason you had to lose so much was so you could learn what could never be taken. You now carry peace that isn't fragile, strength that doesn't need applause. Your scars have become armor. Your tears, the oil of your anointing, the silence that once haunted you has turned into your secret place with God. The darkness never meant you were forgotten. It meant you were being refined. Heaven trusted you enough to hide you until the right moment. You were not being punished. You were being positioned. Look around you now. The signs are subtle but undeniable. People who once ignored you are sensing something different. The air feels charged. Even your dreams are shifting. It's not imagination, it's acceleration. What took years will soon happen in days because timing and obedience have finally collided. Chosen one. The world will not understand the calm that rests on you after this. That's because you've learned to see storms as invitations, not interruptions. Every thunderclap reminds you, heaven is speaking. If this message reaches the deep place inside you that has been waiting for confirmation, take a second to like this word. Share it with another warrior who almost gave up. And subscribe to stay connected to this voice of awakening. Not because you owe anything, but because the light you carry multiplies when it's released. This is your moment of rising. The darkness has already lost its argument against you. Every fall has been overturned by grace. You will rise, not quietly, but with the calm authority of someone who has seen the pit and still chosen praise. Type 777 inches, the comments, to mark this moment, a prophetic signal that you have stood up again, that the light has found you. The rising begins quietly. You won't need to announce it. Your peace will speak louder than any post or title. Those who once doubted will see the calm glow in your eyes and know that something divine has touched you. Stay grounded. Stay humble. Heaven promotes those who remember where they came from. Every breath you take now is sacred rehearsal for what's next. Opportunities will find you without struggle because your spirit is finally in rhythm with your purpose. Don't rush. Let the flow of grace carry you where strength alone could never take you. October is not just another month, it's a threshold. Step through it with faith, not fear. Stand alone if you must. For heaven often crowns its warriors in solitude before revealing them to the world. You didn't just survive the storm, you outlasted it. And now you're standing in the quiet after the chaos, trying to understand why everything had to collapse before you could finally breathe. The answer is simple but difficult. What fell apart wasn't your life. It was your disguise. Heaven could not elevate you while you were still clinging to what was meant to be temporary. Every chosen one reaches a breaking point. It's the place where comfort and calling collide. You've been there, standing between what you know and what your spirit keeps whispering. You wanted to move forward, yet something inside feared what might be lost. That tension was holy. It wasn't punishment. It was the pressure that births clarity. There comes a night when even your own prayers sound foreign. You speak, but the words feel hollow. You ask for strength, and all heaven gives you is silence. You wait, but nothing shifts. It's in those nights that faith stops being an idea and becomes breath. You don't believe because you see because you still believe. The ancient words recorded in Psalms, chapter 30, verse 5, Declare, weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. That verse is not about time, it's about transformation. The night doesn't end when the sun rises, it ends when your soul does. And that's what has happened to you. You woke up inside the same circumstances. But this time, you didn't panic. You stopped asking, "Why me?" and started saying, "Use me." That is how heaven knows you're ready. Picture a cracked jar placed beneath rainfall. Every drop that leaks through the fracture creates a pattern on the earth below. To the untrained eye, it looks broken, but to heaven, it's becoming a map, a trail of grace marking where light escaped confinement. You've been that jar, leaking light through wounds you tried to hide. Now heaven is using those patterns to lead others home. There once was a chosen one who thought they had failed their destiny. They'd given everything: love, effort, obedience, and still, the ground fell from under them. One night, while sitting beside the fragments of what used to be their dream, they whispered, "Maybe I'm done." But just then, a wind swept through the room. Not loud, not violent, gentle, like a sigh. And in that breath, they realized something. The breaking wasn't ending them. It was bending them towards something new. That same wind moves around you now. You feel it when you sit in silence. You sense it when your heart stirs, for no reason. It's heaven's way of saying, "I'm still here." The breaking point is not where you lose, it's where you become. When everything external collapses, what's eternal finally takes center stage. That's why the pain felt surgical. Heaven was cutting away what couldn't stay. You are not being rebuilt to resemble who you were before. You are being reshaped to reflect who you were always meant to be. The new you doesn't depend on applause. doesn't chase validation, doesn't need to be seen to believe. You are learning that the greatest victories happen in hidden places. The world measures success by noise, but heaven measures it by endurance. You kept showing up when no one clapped. You kept believing when logic said it was over. You kept forgiving when bitterness begged you to stop. That is the essence of divine resilience, the quiet defiance of a soul that refuses to die. When you look back now, you'll realize that the moment everything broke was actually the moment you were reborn. You can't carry yesterday's version of yourself into the tomorrow God has prepared. So you shed the weight, grieve the loss, and step lighter into what's next. And though the night has been long, joy is near. Not the loud kind that fades after a celebration, but the deep kind that settles in your bones and stays. It's the peace that whispers, even if nothing changes, I'm still free. Chosen one. Your breaking point was never your failure. It was your initiation into authenticity. You are no longer surviving the story, you are writing it. And the ink you use is made from every tear, every trial. Every time you stood back up, this is the afterglow of endurance. The silence has shifted. The dawn is closer than you think. You are not the same soul that entered the fire. What tried to burn you has become the light that guides you. The ashes no longer cling, they testify. So breathe deeply. The night is finished, and the dawn has already chosen your name. Rise quietly, your victory no longer needs noise. There was a time when silence became your only companion. The noise of the world faded, and you found yourself face to face with nothing but your thoughts and the echo of heaven's whisper. It wasn't loneliness, it was language, a sacred tongue that only those who have walked through darkness can understand. You learned to stop begging for signs and started recognizing patterns. The same pain that once made you question everything began to teach you the rhythm of God's timing. You stopped looking for open doors and started building altars. In the stillness, you discovered something far greater than answers. You discovered presence. We read in the book of Hosea, chapter 6, verse 1, "Come, let us return to the Lord. He has torn us to pieces, but he will heal us. He has injured us, but he will bind up our wounds." 1. You've lived that verse. Every wound became an invitation to intimacy. Every scar became proof that healing is not instant, it's relational. You didn't find peace by escaping the storm. You found peace by realizing who stood beside you in it. The quiet moments taught you that strength isn't loud. It's the calm heartbeat under pressure, the steady breath when fear tries to take over. In silence, heaven rebuilds confidence, not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that carries quiet authority. There's a sacred pattern in God's ways. Before he sends a voice, he gives it silence. Before he releases a prophet, he hides them. Before he crowns a king, he takes away the throne of comfort. You had to be silenced before you could speak with weight. Imagine a tree in winter. Its branches are bare, its beauty hidden. To anyone watching, it looks lifeless. But beneath the frozen soil, roots are stretching deeper, unseen. That's you strengthening in stillness, preparing for bloom. The world doesn't see it yet, but heaven already does. There was a chosen one who once mistook isolation for abandonment. Days turned into months of waiting, and they thought God had walked away. But one dawn, they felt a strange peace, like being held by invisible hands. It wasn't the end, it was incubation. Heaven had wrapped them in quiet to birth, something no crowd could touch. When they emerged, their words carried oil, and their presence changed rooms. You are walking through that same transformation. You are being trained to move differently, to speak when heaven speaks, to wait when heaven waits. This kind of discipline births authority. People who rush rarely carry revelation, but those who listen learn heaven's tone. The silence you once hated is now your sanctuary. It has become the chamber where God teaches you his cadence. You are learning that delay is not denial, it's design. What feels like pause is really precision. Heaven does not waste motion. Every moment you wait is measured. And soon, that silence will speak loudly. When the time comes, you won't have to announce your return. The very atmosphere will shift when you open your mouth. The same voices that doubted you will fall quiet, because your words will carry something weightier than opinion truth. So, if you can feel the stirring in your spirit tonight, if you know that something unseen is shifting deep within you, let it be known. Comment, "I'm listening." Nah, because in those two words, you declare to heaven that your heart is open, your spirit is attentive, and your silence is no longer empty, it's alive. That comment is not for others to see. It's a covenant between you and the one who never stopped speaking. Your waiting has not been wasted. Your quiet has not gone unnoticed. You are becoming fluent in heaven's whisper. And when the time comes, your voice will echo with fire. You've been wondering why your spirit feels restless even when everything seems calm. It's because heaven is calling you deeper. The silence you're in is not an absence, it's an awakening. God is fine-tuning your ears to hear the difference between emotion and revelation. What once sounded like emptiness is now instruction in disguise. When you said, "I'm listening," you didn't just type words, you activated alignment. It was a declaration that your waiting is not passive anymore. You've moved from survival to sensitivity, from panic to perception. Heaven takes that phrase seriously. When a chosen one listens, the atmosphere rearranges itself to respond. Now, listen beyond sound. Pay attention to coincidences, to the sudden peace that interrupts anxiety, to the small ideas that refuse to leave your mind. These are not random thoughts, they are coded directions. The voice of God rarely shouts, it often arrives as a knowing, so don't rush to speak. Sit in the stillness a little longer. Every great calling begins with quiet recognition. The louder the world gets, the softer heaven whispers, and you are finally learning to hear. You were never ordinary. From the moment heaven breathed purpose into your lungs, something about you, unsettled darkness. People sensed it before you did. That's why you never fit in. Why rooms that welcomed others felt cold to you. You weren't being rejected, you were being recognized by the unseen. There's a certain mark upon those whom God sets apart. It cannot be earned, and it cannot be erased. It's not on your skin, it's in your spirit. When you walk into places that are not aligned with your destiny, your very presence disturbs the comfort of complacency. That's why some withdrew from you without reason. You didn't lose them. Your light simply revealed their limits. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 139, verse 14. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. You are divine craftsmanship, built with precision and intention. Heaven did not make a mistake when it formed you differently. every oddity, every contradiction, every misunderstood quality within you was placed there to challenge the patterns of mediocrity. The day you were marked different, a line was drawn in the spirit. From that point on, nothing ordinary could ever satisfy you again. The hunger you feel for something more isn't ambition, it's recognition. Your soul remembers a blueprint written before birth, and now it aches for alignment. There once was a chosen one who spent years trying to fit in. They learned how to mimic the rhythm of others' laugh when others laughed. Stay quiet when truth burned in their chest. But one night, they could no longer hide. They felt heaven tugging at their heart, like a tide pulling at the shore. You were not made for blending. The whisper said, you were made for breaking patterns. From that day, they stopped apologizing for the weight of their calling. That same stirring lives in you. You can feel it in moments when conversation grows shallow, when crowds celebrate things your spirit can't agree with. You're not arrogant, you're aware. You carry an internal compass that always points toward purpose. And though it feels lonely at times, that loneliness is not absence, it's refinement. Being set apart often feels like being cut off. But heaven separates before it elevates. Diamonds are isolated deep underground before they shine. Stars are born in the vacuum of night before they light the sky. The silence around you is not rejection, it's the cocoon before revelation. Chosen one. Your difference is your doorway. The very thing that made you feel misplaced is what heaven will use to manifest something new. Don't resent the way you see, feel, or move through the world. Sensitivity is not weakness, it's discernment. When others react to noise, you respond to presence. There is a reason you sense spiritual atmospheres. Why? You notice shifts others overlook. You're wired to perceive what most ignore. That is the signature of those anointed for influence. Heaven doesn't raise imitators, it births interpreters. You are meant to decode what is hidden, to translate heaven into human understanding. Sometimes your calling will feel too heavy for conversation. You'll try to explain what you see, but words will fail. Don't be discouraged by misunderstanding. Revelation always sounds like rebellion to those still asleep. Keep walking. The right ones will recognize the frequency you carry when it's time. The world needs your difference, even if it doesn't know it yet. There are souls waiting for your voice, the one that doesn't echo culture but carries kingdom. You were never designed to fit trends. You were designed to shift them. That's why the path you walk feels narrow, why shortcuts never seem to work. The weight of your assignment requires structure, not speed. There will be moments when you wish you could go back to comfort, back to simplicity, back to fitting in. But you've seen too much. Once your eyes have glimpsed destiny, you can't unsee it. And though the path ahead feels steep, heaven never marks anyone for greatness without providing grace for the climb. So keep walking, quietly and faithfully. Your difference is not a defect, it's a direction. The same God who designed galaxies carved purpose into your bones. You are the intersection where divine intention meets human existence. And soon, the world will see why you could never blend in. The veil is thinning now. What was hidden within you begins to hum with light. Every step you take confirms the prophecy of your design. You are not becoming chosen. You already are. The difference they questioned will soon become the evidence heaven uses to confirm you. There is a war that does not make noise. It takes place in your thoughts, in the invisible rooms of your heart, where fear, and faith fight for the same throne. You felt it, the heaviness that comes for no reason, the sudden anxiety just as you begin to rise. That's not weakness. That's recognition. Darkness does not waste ammunition on the ordinary. Every chosen soul awakens a reaction from the unseen. The closer you move toward purpose, the more the shadows reach for you. But hear this, every attack was confirmation that you carry something holy. The enemy never fights empty vessels. The ancient writings in Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, reveal this truth. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. And that verse isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to explain the mystery of your life. You've never been fighting people, you've been fighting for peace. You weren't attacked because of what you did wrong, but because of what you carry right. Your very existence is interference in the plans of darkness. There was a chosen one who didn't understand why peace always seemed so temporary. Every time they felt close to breakthrough, something came to shake it. One night, while walking alone under an amber streetlight, they whispered, "Why do battles find me even when I'm trying to heal?" The answer came softly, "Because your light reveals what others hide." From that moment, they began to see warfare differently, not as punishment, but as proof. You, too, are a proof. Every battle you've survived has refined your discernment. You now see behind smiles, sense tension in silence, and feel heaviness that isn't yours. That's not paranoia, it's spiritual sensitivity. You can't carry heaven's authority without also feeling the vibration of resistance. But here is the secret most never understand. Light never fears the dark. The dark only exists to reveal the reach of your radiance. Every time you stand firm in peace, another chain breaks somewhere unseen. Every prayer you whispered in exhaustion became a sword in the hands of angels. Picture this, a single match flickering in an endless cave. Shadows dance wildly around it, but they cannot consume it. That's you. Every time you choose forgiveness instead of anger, hope instead of cynicism, faith instead of fear, you expand that circle of light, and heaven records it. You are not called to fight everything that moves. Some battles are won by stillness. Some wars end when you refuse to respond. Spiritual maturity is knowing when to speak and when to stand silent. There's power in both. When life feels heavy, remember this. Even Jesus slept through storms, not because he ignored them, but because he understood who he was. You're learning that same authority, the calm that terrifies chaos. When the waves roar, you no longer panic, you rest. Knowing the sea itself recognizes your command. Soon, the peace you carry will become contagious. People will stand near you and feel the weight lift from their shoulders without knowing why. That's what it means to be an atmosphere changer. You don't need to preach. You simply exist as evidence that heaven still walks the earth through willing vessels. And if this message touches something deep inside you, if it feels like it's reading a page from your own journal, then let your response be as gentle as the sunrise. Don't rush. Just allow gratitude to rise like warmth in your chest. Maybe you'll feel the urge to share this light with someone who's been fading. Do it quietly, like passing a candle in the dark. Let them feel the glow, not the push. If your heart nudges you, leave a trace of that light. a simple gesture of connection. When you like, it's as if you're lighting another lantern for someone lost in a hallway of confusion. When you share, you're sending a flare into someone's midnight, a reminder that dawn still exists. And when you subscribe, it's not to follow a voice, it's to stay near a flame that keeps your own burning. This isn't obligation, it's resonance. You are not being asked, you are being invited. Every act of connection is another way of saying, I'm still here, still shining. The war around you is real, but the peace within you is stronger. Every time you choose love, heaven wins another battle. And tonight, as you listen, you've already won one more. New image metaphor. Imagine your soul as a lighthouse carved from crystal. Each storm wave that crashes against it only polishes the surface until it gleams brighter. What tries to drown you ends up defining your brilliance. There is a sacred day written into your story, one that heaven has been circling on its eternal calendar. That day is approaching soon. October 24 is not superstition or coincidence, it's alignment. A divine appointment disguised as an ordinary date. On that day, you will need solitude. Not because you are alone, but because heaven wants your undivided attention. Chosen one. This day is not about ritual. It's about readiness. Heaven will not shout. It will whisper. You must be still enough to hear it. You will not find the message in the noise of the world, but in the quiet rhythm of your own heartbeat. In the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, it is written, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not delay." That verse is your map. It reminds you that divine timing never runs late. Even when your emotions do, what you thought was waiting has been preparation. What felt like silence was calibration. Heaven has been training your sensitivity so that, when the moment arrives, you'll recognize the signal instantly. October 24 will not be loud. It will not come with thunder or lightning. It will arrive like a breeze through an open window. Soft, but undeniable. That's how heaven moves, with subtlety, with precision, with mercy. You'll sense it in the stillness, maybe through a word that stands out, a memory that returns, a peace that suddenly settles where anxiety used to live. That peace will be your confirmation. There once was a chosen one who, during a season of exhaustion, felt an inner call to spend one evening entirely alone. No phone, no music, no noise, just quiet. They didn't understand why, but they obeyed. As they sat in the stillness, tears came not of sadness, but of recognition. It was as if heaven itself exhaled around them. Thoughts that had been tangled for months suddenly became clear. That night became the hinge of their entire journey. Later, when they looked back, they realized it was October 24. The same grace that met them waits for you. You may think you are too distracted, too broken, too weary to hear clearly. But heaven doesn't need perfection to speak, only permission. On that day, open the door, sit in silence, and simply say, "Speak, I'm listening." Then wait. You'll feel it not as sound, but as certainty. The moment will be small enough to miss, but large enough to change everything. Heaven loves privacy. It chooses the quiet to release the loudest miracles. It crowns in secret before revealing in public. And this October, You are being called into that secret place where revelation flows like oil. Don't fill the day with noise or distraction. Be still. Walk alone if you can. Disconnect from what drains you and reconnect with what defines you. Your mind will fight it. Your phone will tempt you. Your routine will protest, but that's how you'll know it's important. This day will be like standing at the edge of a river that's been waiting for you. The moment you step in, everything that clings to you will wash away the self-doubt, the fatigue, the smallness, and as the water moves around your spirit, you'll feel lighter, almost transparent, as if heaven is writing new instructions directly into your soul. Remember, the call isn't to isolate forever. It's to align for what's next. After the quiet, there will be movement, new directions, divine nudges that make sense only in hindsight. You'll know which doors to knock on and which ones to let close. And when the day passes, don't rush to tell anyone what happened. Keep some of it sacred. Heaven treasures the secrets shared in stillness. Some revelations are meant to be lived, not explained. So, if this message stirs your spirit, if you feel the gentle pull to prepare your heart for that day, mark it not with fear, but with expectancy. Let anticipation become worship. Let silence become sanctuary. When that moment comes, it won't demand performance. It will invite presence. You won't have to chase it. You'll simply recognize it. Now, if your spirit bears witness to this word, if you can feel heaven aligning something unseen, even as you read, leave a simple sign below. Comment 444. Learn, not for luck, but as agreement, a prophetic number of divine order and angelic covering. It's your way of saying, I will be still, I will listen, I will be there. Learn, heaven takes note of those who respond in faith. Every act of obedience, even as small as a number, sends a ripple through eternity. This is not superstition, it's synchronization. Heaven and earth meeting in the rhythm of your yes. On October 24, when the world keeps moving, you will be still, and in that stillness, heaven will speak. There is a sound hidden beneath silence, the voice of stillness that only those who have walked through fire can recognize. You are learning to hear it now. After seasons of noise, disappointment, and confusion, your spirit is finally settling into a new rhythm. The language of stillness is not spoken in words, it's felt in the heart. When you stop striving, heaven starts speaking. You've discovered this truth in small ways, those quiet moments when everything seems still but your soul feels awake. It's the whisper that rises between breaths, the sense that you're not alone, even when you are. That awareness is God teaching you His tone. The world glorifies movement, constant talking, posting, planning, proving, but heaven's power hides in quiet confidence. The loudest faith is often the one that doesn't need to announce itself. You're learning that peace isn't the absence of chaos, it's the mastery of stillness within it. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 17, verse 27, the one who has knowledge uses words with restraint, and whoever has understanding is even-tempered. That verse describes the maturity being built in you now. You are no longer rushing to respond to every challenge. You are learning to pause before reacting, to listen before speaking. This discipline may feel small, but it is sacred. Heaven trusts those who can hold silence without fear. Once There was a chosen one who believed stillness meant nothingness. They feared being idle, as if silence would erase them. But one evening, as they sat under a fading sunset, they noticed how even the sky stopped moving for a moment. The world paused, yet everything lived. In that silence, they realized the truth. Peace was not a void, it was presence. The same revelation is unfolding in you. You are discovering that stillness is not inactivity, it's invitation. It's the meeting point between divine timing and human surrender. You are not doing nothing when you rest. You are allowing everything to align. Think of a potter shaping clay. The most crucial moment is not the spinning or the sculpting, it's the stillness before the fire. The vessel must dry in silence before it can be strengthened in heat. If it moves too soon, it cracks. You are in that same sacred pause. Heaven is letting you settle so you can endure what comes next. Stillness is where strength learns patience. It's where vision clears. It's where identity stabilizes. You used to see waiting as wasted time, but now you see it as the womb of wisdom. What's forming inside you in these quiet hours will soon speak louder than any explanation. Sometimes the urge to fill silence comes from fear. You worry that if nothing happens, you'll fade into irrelevance. But that's the lie of noise. The truth is, hot does his best work in hidden seasons. The soil never complains when it's buried. It trusts the seed. And you, too, are learning to trust the process even when it looks like nothing is happening. There's beauty in restraint. The world tells you to announce every victory, defend every choice, prove every calling. But grace whispers differently. Hold your peace. Let fruit speak. Soon, your life will tell stories your words never could. Even your rest is warfare. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you frustrate the plans of darkness. The enemy cannot imitate peace. It's heaven's signature. Your stillness becomes a shield. Your quiet a weapon. There will come moments when your heart feels heavy again, when silence seems unbearable. When that happens, remember this: stillness doesn't mean God is silent. It means He is near. The quieter it gets, the closer He comes. Sometimes He hides in the hush so that your spirit, not your senses, can find Him. So, breathe. Sit in the pause. Let the noise dissolve until only the pulse of your own heartbeat remains. That rhythm is heaven's metronome guiding you through transition. You are not waiting for something to begin, it already has. The peace you feel now is not a break between battles. It's the beginning of balance. You are learning to live unshaken, to move from reaction to revelation. Stillness is not weakness, it's sovereignty over self. You no longer chase meaning, you create space for it. You no longer beg for signs, you've become one. And when the world around you spins faster, remember the secret you've learned. Silence is not the absence of sound, it's the evidence of control. You are ready for what's next. Glory doesn't descend all at once. It comes like morning light, soft at first, then brighter, and finally undeniable. You've entered the season where the weight of divine purpose presses gently upon your shoulders. The pressure you feel is not punishment, it's the proof of what you carry. There are moments lately when your heart feels too full, as if your chest can barely contain what heaven is pouring in. You sense a stirring, an expansion, a stretching that doesn't make sense. That's the weight of glory. It doesn't crush, it molds. It transforms frailty into fire. human breath into holy wind. The book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 17, speaks of this mystery. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. Oh, you are living that verse now. What once felt like random suffering is beginning to make sense. The pain, the waiting, the disappointments, they were ingredients of an unseen process. Heaven was building your capacity. Each heartbreak enlarged your heart. Each loss made room for wisdom, and every tear softened the ground where grace could take root. Think of molten gold in a forge. The fire doesn't destroy it, it purifies. Impurities rise to the surface, only to be skimmed away, leaving something radiant and unbreakable. That's what the last season was doing to you. Heaven turned up the heat, not to harm, but to refine. Now, what remains is gold that won't tarnish under pressure. You might not notice it yet, but your atmosphere is shifting. Conversations feel different. Your discernment has sharpened. Even your silence carries substance. The weight you bear is not just responsibility, it's resonance. People will begin to feel peace simply by standing near you, because heaven's frequency vibrates through your presence. There once was a chosen one who couldn't understand why the battles kept increasing just as their prayers deepened. They begged for relief, but heaven gave revelation instead. You are carrying something heavy enough to shift generations. The weight you feel isn't just yours, it's inheritance. From that moment on, they stopped asking for lighter loads and began asking for stronger shoulders. You are learning that same prayer. Strength doesn't come from ease, it comes from endurance. The glory resting on you requires resilience, humility, and trust. Heaven cannot entrust crowns to those who despise the weight that comes with them. Every calling has gravity. The greater the purpose, the deeper the pull. You'll feel it in unexpected moments, when compassion overtakes anger, when you sense to pray for someone out of nowhere, when peace becomes heavier than fear. That's glory manifesting through you. Subtle, yet certain. Picture a lamp filled with oil. At first, the oil feels like a burden. It's heavy, hard to pour. But when the wick is lit, that same oil becomes fire. What was once cumbersome becomes illumination. You are that lamp. The oil that once felt too heavy is now the fuel for your flame. There's a reason God didn't let certain things work out before. If He had given you the crown without the weight, you would have mistaken glory for glamour. Now you know the difference. Glory doesn't make you loud, it makes you luminous. The glory you carry will change the way you move. You'll begin to value simplicity over spectacle, depth over visibility, obedience over approval. That shift is heaven's signature. The more glory rests on you, the less you need validation. You stop performing and start existing as evidence. Sometimes, though, the weight will feel unbearable. When it does, remember that even Jesus stumbled under His cross. The fall didn't disqualify Him, it fulfilled prophecy. Likewise, your moments of exhaustion don't mean failure, they mean you're human enough to hold something divine. Heaven measures worthiness not by strength alone, but by surrender. Soon, the world around you will begin to see the glow you've been growing in secret. But until then, keep walking quietly. The weight of glory is not meant to be flaunted, it's meant to be carried with reverence. You are being stretched to hold more love, more compassion, more revelation. That's why you feel both fragile and fierce at once. Heaven is enlarging your capacity to host presence. So when the pressure increases, smile slightly and whisper to yourself, "It's only the weight of glory." Because it is. Every ache, every stretch, every breath that feels too heavy is proof that heaven still trusts you with its treasures. You are not being crushed, you are being crowned. There comes a season when heaven begins to remove what no longer belongs, not to punish you, but to protect you. You have stepped into that season now. The separation feels uncomfortable because it touches what once felt safe. But what you call loss, heaven calls alignment. Everything that is leaving your life right now is making space for what cannot be delayed any longer. Friendships are fading, paths are parting, and old desires are dissolving. Don't mourn too long. You prayed for transformation. And this is how it begins. The prophet speaks through the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 6. A time to search, and a time to give up. A time to keep, and a time to throw away. You are standing in that sacred time to give up. It doesn't mean surrendering hope. It means releasing what no longer serves your calling. The same God who called you forward is now cleaning your path. Some doors are closing because the future version of you cannot fit through them, carrying yesterday's weight. There was a chosen one who once begged for certain relationships to stay, unaware that heaven was gently untangling the cords that bound them. For months they resisted, clinging to what was familiar, but the day they finally let go, peace entered, like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Later they realized what they thought was rejection was really redirection. So it is with you. What you're losing is not random, it's surgical. God's hands are steady. Even when the cut feels deep, He removes what hinders so He can reveal what heals. This season of separation is not about people, it's about purity. Heaven must extract distractions before revealing destiny. You've been asking to hear more clearly, to move more boldly, to see more deeply. That kind of clarity requires emptiness first. Think of a sculptor chiseling marble. Every strike looks like destruction until the figure begins to emerge. That's what God is doing now, chipping away at the excess, shaping the masterpiece. The noise that leaves your life is making room for the echo of eternity. Don't chase what's walking away. Some connections were only assignments, not anchors. Some hearts were meant to teach, not to stay. You can love what once was without bringing it into what's next. Grace doesn't erase people, it releases them. Chosen one. Remember that separation always precedes revelation. Abraham had to leave his homeland before he could see the stars of his promise. Ruth had to walk away from Moab before she could meet Boaz. Jesus had to go into the wilderness before he began his ministry. Isolation is heaven's incubator. You might feel lonely right now, but you're not abandoned, you're being set apart. When heaven isolates, it's never to imprison, it's to anoint. Oil cannot pour in crowded places. You must step aside from the noise long enough for God to whisper your next instruction. You will notice subtle signs. Certain conversations feel draining. Certain spaces feel heavy. Certain habits no longer fit. Don't resist that discomfort. It's the Spirit's gentle nudge. The pruning is not punishment, it's preparation. And soon, what left will no longer hurt. You'll thank God for unanswered prayers and doors that stayed closed. The peace that follows obedience will silence every regret. This is your separation season, the divine dividing line between who you were and who you are becoming. Stand firm in it. The ache is temporary, the alignment is eternal. If this word resonates deep inside you, if it feels like it's speaking directly to the shifting ground beneath your feet, then seal this moment with a small act of agreement. Comment, "I release." Oh, because those two words are not resignation, they're recognition. They mean you understand that letting go is not losing, it's trusting. When you say them, you're not giving up. You're giving God permission to replace what's leaving with what lasts. Everything that departs now is making room for everything that's been waiting. And when it arrives, you'll see that nothing truly meant for you ever needed to be chased. Release is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the quiet courage to trust that what departs was never meant to define you. The empty spaces it leaves behind will soon bloom with clarity and new grace. When you whispered, "I release," heaven heard movement. Angels mark those moments when a heart stops clinging and starts trusting. That surrender becomes an open gate for divine exchange. What leaves your hands enters God's. So rest now. Let peace fill the gaps that pain once occupied. The ones who walk away free you to walk forward light. Separation always ends in revelation. Every battle has built you. Every scar has whispered a secret about your strength. You stand now in a quiet place, surrounded not by applause, but by awareness. This is where the crown of the overcomer is forged, not in comfort, but in the crucible of surrender. You have carried pain that others never saw and learned to breathe through storms that should have broken you. Yet your heart still beats in rhythm with heaven's patience. That's what makes you different. When you look back, you'll see that the hardest seasons were not interruptions, they were instructions. Each heartbreak carved space for compassion. Each delay taught endurance. Every rejection polished your discernment. You were not being stripped of worth, you were being shaped for weight. As written in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 11, "I am coming soon. Hold on to what you have, so that no one will take your crown." That verse is more than comfort, it's a coronation. The crown you wear now is invisible, but real. It's not made of gold or jewels, it's woven from endurance, forgiveness, and quiet obedience. Heaven crowns differently. God does not place metal on your head, He places peace on your mind. There once was a chosen one who mistook victory for noise. They believed success required witnesses. That triumph demanded a stage. But after walking through fire and losing nearly everything, they discovered a truth only ashes can teach. Real crowns are awarded in silence. The applause of men fades, the approval of heaven remains. You're living that same revelation now. The proof of your triumph is not in what you gain, but in what no longer controls you. Fear no longer dictates your choices. Doubt no longer interrupts your faith. The opinions of others no longer chain your joy. That freedom is your crown. Think of a mountain after the storm. Its surface glistens, every crevice washed clean, sunlight touching places that rain revealed. That's you, steadfast, purified, unshackable. Your crown is not separate from your scars. It was formed by them. The same hands that allowed the storm have now placed the symbol of victory upon you. You might not feel crowned yet. That's because heaven's rewards rarely come wrapped in recognition. They arrive as perspective. You see clearer now. Love deeper. Move slower, but stronger. You no longer chase validation. You walk in conviction. That's the glow of those who've overcome. But remember this, crowns carry responsibility. You were not crowned to rule over people, but to rule over reactions, to govern your peace, your patience, your purpose. Authority begins in self-mastery. The one who can command their emotions can command the atmosphere around them. That's spiritual royalty. This is why the journey mattered. Every tear, every prayer whispered into the dark, every moment you almost gave up, it all prepared you for this posture of quiet strength. You have learned that victory isn't a shout, it's a stillness that cannot be shaken. And now, the world will begin to sense it. You won't need to prove your transformation. It will speak through your presence. Your words will carry weight. Your silence will hold authority. Your very being will testify that heaven fulfills its promises. If this message finds resonance deep within you, pause for a heartbeat. Let gratitude rise quietly. There is no rush. There is no command. Only a choice. Perhaps you'll feel the pull to let this light travel beyond you. If it stirs your spirit, let it flow outward in your own way. When you like, imagine setting a single golden leaf afloat on a calm river, watching it drift towards someone who forgot beauty existed. When you share, it's like releasing a dove into the open sky, carrying peace to a soul you may never meet. And when you subscribe, picture planting a seed beside a stream, knowing it will grow into a tree that offers shade to others who wander weary. These are not obligations, they are reflections. Each act is your quiet agreement with heaven that hope still moves through human hands. You are not doing these things for me. You're doing them as a symbolic echo of your own awakening, an act of light from one crowned soul to another, still searching through shadows. The crown you wear now is unseen, but its weight is real. Carry it with grace. Let it remind you that endurance is not just survival, it's sacred inheritance. And when you walk forward from this moment, remember this image. A crown of light reflected in still water, radiant yet calm, seen only by those who dare to kneel and look closely. That's who you've become. There comes a moment when reflection turns into revelation, when you no longer question who you are, but begin to remember who you've always been. You are not trying to become someone new. You are finally awakening to the truth of your design. The crown didn't create your worth, it revealed it. You've spent years learning to see yourself through the eyes of others. Their opinions shaped your confidence. Their silence molded your doubts. But the time for borrowed identity is over. You are stepping into the mirror of heaven. And for the first time, the reflection staring back feels familiar. As written in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 27, so God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. That single verse answers 1,000 unspoken questions. You were never random, never a mistake, never an afterthought. You carry the fingerprints of divinity, evidence that eternity wanted to be visible. Every flaw the world pointed out was only a facet misunderstood. What they saw as weakness was simply the softness needed to hold light. There was a chosen one who could never recognize their own reflection. When they looked into mirrors, all they saw were cracks, failures, regrets, mistakes. But one morning, while standing in front of that same mirror, they whispered, "God, show me what you see." For the first time, they didn't notice their flaws, they noticed their fire. The reflection hadn't changed. Their vision had. From that day forward, they stopped editing their existence. You are walking through that same awakening. For so long, you've measured yourself by progress, by results, by approval. But heaven never used those metrics. Heaven has always looked at the heart. The real transformation happens not when others notice you, but when you notice Him in you. When God created you, He didn't repeat Himself. There is no duplicate, no replica, no version 2. Ling. You are the only expression of your kind. The world may try to compare or copy, but authenticity has no competition. It simply is. Imagine a prism catching sunlight. Each face refracts the same beam, differently. Yet no part of it is less true. You are that prism. One angle of heaven's light, made visible in flesh. The way you love. The way you forgive. The way you create these are not random traits. They are divine fingerprints. The mirror of identity is not vanity, it's verification. When you see yourself clearly, you stop seeking permission to exist. You realize that you were chosen before you ever performed. That understanding removes the pressure to impress and replaces it with the peace of presence. There's power in self-recognition. Once you know who you are, no one else can tell you who you're not. The world can label, accuse, misunderstand. But identity built in heaven cannot be erased by human error. You stop defending your value because you finally understand it was never up for debate. Chosen one. This season is about remembering every experience, every loss, every victory. All of it was heaven's way of reintroducing you to yourself. Pain showed you your resilience. Silence showed you your sensitivity. Rejection showed you your refinement. Together, they rebuilt the mirror you once shattered. Now, when you stand before your reflection, you see alignment where chaos used to live. You see a person who walked through storms and learned serenity. You see someone who failed forward until grace caught them. That's not pride, that's clarity. You will notice something else too. Shame is losing its voice. The words that once echoed, "not enough," "too much," "too late," are growing faint. They can no longer survive in truth's light. The more you see yourself as heaven does, the less power those lies hold. And from that place of clarity, compassion blooms. When you recognize the divine in yourself, you begin to recognize it in others. Judgment falls, replaced by mercy. Comparison dissolves, replaced by gratitude. The mirror becomes a window, reflecting God's image back into the world. You are no longer trying to prove anything. You simply are. The reflection staring back is not broken, it's reborn. Every scar has become a signature of survival. Every imperfection now glows with purpose. You carry the beauty of contradiction, strength wrapped in gentleness, fire held by peace. That paradox is what makes you radiant. So, stand before the mirror once more, not to analyze, but to acknowledge. Look closely, not at the surface, but at the soul within. See what heaven has always seen: light, life, legacy. You are not who you were. You are who you were meant to be. Completion feels different than you imagined. It's not a parade or a finish line. It's a quiet realization that you've become what you once prayed for. You no longer chase what's fleeting because you've learned to value what lasts. Heaven calls this moment transition, a sacred closing before an unfolding begins. You stand in the threshold between what was and what's next. It feels both peaceful and unnerving. Part of you wants to move quickly, to fill the silence with plans and promises, but the wiser part of you knows that divine endings require stillness, not strategy. This is the chapter where you rest long enough to let grace settle. The Book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, declares a truth that anchors this very season, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. And see, that verse is not a cliché, it's a compass. It reminds you that nothing was wasted. Every heartbreak, every delay, every detour has been orchestrated into a symphony of redemption. What once felt disconnected now forms a pattern only heaven could design. You are not standing in the ruins of failure, you are standing on the blueprint of divine order. There once was a chosen one who couldn't see the purpose in their pain. They prayed for open doors. Yet every door they touched seemed to close. They thought heaven had forgotten them, but years later, when the pieces finally aligned, they realized that what felt like no had actually been not yet. The waiting was never empty. It was architecture. You are walking through that same revelation. Heaven doesn't rush construction when the foundation carries eternity. Everything you've endured has been building capacity, heart wide enough for mercy, faith deep enough for silence, vision clear enough to hold future fire. Completion is not about arrival, it's about readiness. You've learned to let go without bitterness, to stay soft without breaking, to hope without forcing. That balance is the evidence of maturity. You are being trusted with transition because you now understand the rhythm of God's timing. Look around you. Notice how certain things are falling away gently instead of abruptly. That's grace in motion. Heaven is tying off loose ends, not as punishment, but as preparation. Every cycle must end before the next begins. And this one, the long one filled with tears and testing, is closing beautifully. Completion doesn't erase the past, it redeems it. You'll begin to see how the very places that once felt empty now echo with gratitude. You'll remember faces, moments, seasons, and instead of pain, you'll feel peace. That's how you'll know the healing is complete. Chosen one, you are not behind. You are perfectly on time. The reason certain dreams didn't unfold sooner is because their wait required a wiser version of you. Heaven has no interest in giving you blessings you're not yet strong enough to carry. But now, you are ready. Think of a candle melting into its mold. The heat feels destructive, but it's shaping something lasting. Once cooled, the candle carries the memory of the flame, but no longer burns with pain. That's you formed, finished, still glowing. This is your completion season, but not your ending. Heaven finishes only to begin again. You are stepping into a cycle of manifestation. What was promised will now find expression, and yet, even in fulfillment, humility remains your anchor. You will continue to walk softly, aware that every victory is borrowed breath. Every open door still belongs to grace. The fruit of maturity is quiet gratitude. Now, as this word settles into your spirit, mark this moment not as closure, but as covenant. Let heaven see that you understand nothing was wasted and nothing was random. If this word resonates in your soul, If you feel the stillness of divine completion wrapping around your heart like warm light, acknowledge it in a simple act of faith. Comment 333. This is not just a number. It's a seal, a symbol of completion, unity, and divine order. It declares that your past, present, and future have now aligned under grace. When you type it, you're not just acknowledging the ending, you're agreeing with the new beginning hidden inside it. Heaven moves where faith responds. Even the smallest act, when done with revelation, becomes a door. So breathe deeply. The season that once broke you has now built you. The pain that once silenced you has now tuned you. And the road that once felt endless now folds beautifully into purpose. Completion has come. Transition begins. What was once broken is now the foundation of your strength. You have entered the season where heaven begins to reverse the verdicts spoken against you. Every lie, every loss, every limitation that once defined you is being rewritten in the language of restoration. What others thought was the end, God is using as the opening line of a new chapter. You can feel it, the subtle yet undeniable sense that something long withheld is being released. Not all at once, but like morning fog, giving way to light. It isn't revenge, it's redemption. Heaven is not restoring to prove anyone wrong, it's restoring to prove you right for not giving up. As declared in the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 25, I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. Those words have weight. They do not speak of replacing what was lost, but redeeming what was wasted. Heaven doesn't just give you back time, it multiplies what time took from you. The years you thought were gone have been accumulating interest in eternity. There was a chosen one who once whispered through tears, I wasted too much time. They regretted the years they spent chasing what didn't last, loving those who didn't stay, dreaming without direction. But heaven answered, nothing is wasted that passes through my hands. That revelation changed everything. They began to see that even their detours had direction. Every delay became evidence that God had been rerouting, not rejecting. You are living that truth now. The reversals happening in your life are not coincidence. They are compensation. The scales that once tilted against you are being balanced with divine precision. Heaven keeps receipts for every tear, every silent sacrifice, every night you stayed faithful when no one saw. Now, what was lost in darkness will bloom in light. This reversal won't always look spectacular. Sometimes it arrives quietly. Peace where there used to be pain. Laughter where there used to be fear. The healing doesn't always roar. Sometimes it hums. You'll realize you're free only when the memory of what hurt you stops echoing. That's restoration too. Think of a tapestry turned over. From the back, it looks like chaos, threads tangled, patterns unclear. But when it's flipped, the design makes sense. That's what God is doing now, turning the story right side up. The threads of pain, confusion, and waiting are aligning into beauty. Nothing has been random. Every color, every knot, every turn was required. Reversal also means justice, not the kind you demand, but the kind heaven defines. Some things that were stolen from you, peace, reputation, opportunity will return, not through force, but through favor. The same people who misread your silence will witness your elevation, not for vengeance, but for revelation. chosen one. When God reverses a verdict, He doesn't consult the past. He overrides it. The labels that once limited you, too late, too much, not enough, are being erased. You are no longer defined by what broke you, but by what built you after. There was a time you thought the story ended in failure, but heaven was simply editing the middle. Every page that looked like loss was actually setting up the proof of grace. You needed to see what emptiness felt like, so you could recognize fullness when it came. Even now, heaven is orchestrating quiet miracles, phone calls, opportunities, reconciliations, ideas. They're lining up in divine sequence. Don't rush to explain it, just let it unfold. The same God who allowed the breaking is now conducting the rebuilding, and His timing is flawless. Restoration rarely shouts, it whispers. You'll know it's begun when gratitude replaces complaint, when joy stops needing reasons. The very ground that held your tears will soon bloom with laughter. And when it happens, you won't feel triumphant, you'll feel tender, because you'll realize that the victory was never about getting back what you lost. It was about becoming who you needed to be to receive it rightly. The reversal of heaven is never partial. It completes what pain began. It heals without residue, builds without bitterness, and blesses without boasting. You are walking into that kind of redemption, the kind that doesn't erase your past, but redeems it so deeply that even the scars begin to shine. Redemption always ends in revelation. You will look back one day and realize that every detour was divine choreography. Every heartbreak, a holy redirection. What you thought delayed you was actually protecting you from smaller versions of your destiny. So, breathe and walk forward without looking over your shoulder. The story that once made you weep will now make you worship. Heaven has not only rewritten your ending, it has renamed your beginning. The chapter ahead glows with mercy. You are walking through open gates now. The air feels different, lighter, cleaner, almost electric. This is the moment heaven has been preparing you for all along. The resistance that once pressed against you has weakened because your frequency has changed. You no longer walk as someone trying to earn access. You walk as someone who already belongs. There is a sacred confidence that follows those who have endured refining seasons. You don't need to force doors anymore. What is yours will open at your arrival. Heaven's timing has synchronized with your obedience, and the gates that once seemed sealed are responding to your footsteps. We find in the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 11, "Your gates shall always stand open, they shall not be shut day or night, so that people may bring you the wealth of the nations." Longed. That verse was written for moments like this one. It speaks of opportunity without exhaustion, of access without striving. The gates stand open, not because of your effort, but because of your alignment. You no longer have to knock on every door. Your presence itself has become the key. There was a chosen one who once spent years chasing favor. They attended every event, made every connection, and still felt invisible. One day, when they finally stopped forcing outcomes and began focusing on inner peace, doors they had never even approached began to open on their behalf. It wasn't coincidence, it was confirmation. Heaven had been waiting for surrender before release. You are in that same space now. The energy that once felt blocked is flowing. The things that once resisted are responding. Every no from the past has begun to echo with new meaning. Not yet, but soon. When gates open, the first temptation is to run. You've waited so long that momentum feels like necessity. But wisdom whispers don't sprint, stride. The gate is open, not for escape, but for elevation. This is not a race, it's a coronation walk. Every step matters. Imagine a river breaking through a dam. The force of release carries debris at first, but eventually, the current clears and moves with purpose. That's how new seasons begin: messy, powerful, unstoppable. Don't fear the unfamiliar flow, learn its rhythm. Let the current of grace carry you into untried territories. Open gates also mean new responsibility. With opportunity comes discernment. Not every invitation is an assignment. Some doors are open for observation, not occupation. Ask heaven before you enter. You've been taught how to fight. Now you must learn when to rest. The same obedience that brought you here will keep you from being distracted by abundance. Chosen one, you are entering a realm where effort transforms into ease. This is not the ease of laziness, but of flow, where everything you touch bears the fingerprint of grace. Conversations align. Resources appear. Connections unfold naturally. That's what happens when purpose and timing finally meet. And yet, with every open gate, there will be whispers of doubt. Can it really be this good? Am I ready for this? Those are remnants of your old self trying to understand a new atmosphere. Silence them gently. Remind your heart that you've been prepared for this all along. Think of an eagle that has healed after years of grounding. At first, flight feels awkward. Muscles train. Wings tremble. But as air lifts beneath its feathers, instinct returns. The sky was always home. It just took time to remember how to rise. That's you now. What lies ahead is not another trial. It's transformation. You'll look around and see how everything that once opposed you has become part of your foundation. The same gates that shut you out will now usher you in. The same voices that doubted you will soon ask how you endured. And your answer will be simple. I didn't open the gate. Heaven did. The season of striving is over. The striving served its purpose. It built stamina, faith, and focus. But now, grace has taken the lead. You walk differently when you know doors are waiting to welcome you. Let peace guide your pace. Don't rush to collect everything at once. What is meant for you will wait. What carries your name cannot pass you by. You are walking through open gates not just of opportunity, but of understanding. You no longer see from the ground, you see from grace. Every threshold is a testimony. Every open door, a mirror reflecting the faith that carried you here. This is your confirmation. The season of resistance has ended. The gates are open. Step through steady, strong, and sure. There is a sound only the chosen recognize, a gentle echo that rings through the soul like a bell struck in eternity. You've been hearing it lately. Not with your ears, but with your heart. It calls you beyond routine and noise, into a frequency of remembrance. You're not being invited to something new, you're being reminded of something ancient. Heaven's voice has always known your name. When God calls, it doesn't always thunder. Sometimes it arrives as a soft pull toward purpose. A holy restlessness in familiar spaces. You're beginning to feel that call again, the tug to rise, to return, to rebuild. It isn't ambition, it's awakening. The Apostle reminds us in the first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 2, verse 9, what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, and what no mind has conceived, the things God has prepared for those who love Him. That verse isn't a promise for the distant future. It's a whisper about right now. There are things being prepared for you that can't be predicted. Blessings that require your presence, not your performance. Heaven isn't asking you to try harder, it's asking you to tune deeper. There once was a chosen one who spent years trying to build something great. They planned every detail, spoke with confidence, worked without rest, but still, everything felt hollow. One evening, they stepped outside beneath a violet sky and simply listened. For the first time in years, they stopped doing and started being. In that stillness, they realized that greatness isn't built, it's revealed when surrender begins. You're entering that same revelation now. The call echoing in your spirit is not a demand for effort, but an invitation to intimacy. You are being summoned back to the source to remember that you were never meant to carry light alone. You were meant to become it. You are part of something vast and radiant. A symphony of chosen hearts across the earth, waking up to the same frequency. Each act of kindness, each word of hope, each silent prayer is a note in that music. And together, it's changing the atmosphere of the world. Now the question gently rises, how will you respond to that sound? You don't have to make noise to answer. Even stillness can be worship. Yet, if your heart stirs, if you feel the hum of heaven vibrating in your chest, perhaps your response can become a gesture of connection. When you like, imagine lighting a lantern and placing it in your window, not to be seen, but to guide another traveler through the dark. When you share, think of it as sending that light across miles of night, where someone you may never meet is waiting for a sign that hope still exists. And when you subscribe, picture yourself joining a constellation, one star among many, shining in rhythm, each light strengthening the others until the whole sky glows with remembrance. These are not tasks to complete. They are choices to commune. They carry no pressure, no command, only invitation. Because heaven never coerces, it calls. And perhaps, before you leave this moment, your spirit will feel the urge to whisper a simple acknowledgement. Comment, I hear. All, not to me, but to the one who's been speaking all along. Those two words are a doorway. They mean, I'm awake now. I recognize the sound of destiny. I am listening. When you say them, heaven hears harmony, returning your voice, finding its place again in the divine song. This is what it means to stay connected, not through obligation, but through resonance. You're not following a message, you're responding to a melody written into your own being. Every act of connection, every light, every echo, every whisper is your soul's way of saying, I'm still part of the plan. End quote. So walk forward gently. Keep the music alive. Let gratitude be your instrument and peace your rhythm. You are both the song and the singer, both listener and light. And when others find this message, they will hear your echo in it. They will feel what you felt, a call disguised as comfort, a voice reminding them that heaven never stops speaking, only waits for us to remember the sound. And long after this moment ends, the light you've shared will keep traveling. It will pass from heart to heart, a quiet chain of awakening carried through unseen hands. Somewhere, someone will feel a warmth they can't explain, and it will be the echo of your yes. So, let it continue. Let the lanterns you've lit rise into the sky of faith until the night itself begins to shimmer. What began as a whisper will become a horizon of hope. There is a sacred recognition that happens when light finds light. It's the quiet understanding between souls who have walked through the same darkness and emerged glowing. You're entering that season now, the convergence of the chosen. The ones who carry similar fire are beginning to find each other. It doesn't happen through search or strategy, but through resonance. Heaven connects flames that burn at the same frequency. You'll start to notice it in subtle ways. A conversation that feels familiar even though you've never met. A message that echoes what your spirit already knew. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. The chosen rarely travel alone forever. After the solitude comes the gathering. After the silence comes the sound, as written in the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 24 to 25. And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, but encouraging one another as you see the day approaching. This verse is not a rule, it's a revelation. It reminds you that connection is not weakness, it's warfare. When light unites with light, darkness loses territory. Every encounter between chosen ones multiplies illumination. You were never meant to be isolated forever. Separation was your classroom, not your home. There was a chosen one who thought their calling required solitude forever. They believed that to remain pure, they had to remain apart. But one day, a stranger spoke words that sounded like their own heart. It was like hearing a forgotten language. They realized then that God doesn't send mirrors to distract us. He sends them to remind us that we are not alone in the fire. The same realization is approaching for you. Heaven is aligning divine intersections, people who don't drain you but ignite you, conversations that don't compete but complete. These are not casual connections, they are covenantal. You'll know them not by excitement, but by peace. When light finds light, there's no need for explanation. The recognition is instant. Your spirit exhales. You'll feel it in moments when laughter feels like prayer, when silence feels safe, when words aren't needed to be understood. That's how the chosen recognize each other, not through performance, but through presence. Think of coals in a fire. One alone glows dimly, but together they burn brighter, longer, stronger. That's what's happening now. Heaven is gathering embers to create a collective flame that cannot be quenched. You are one of those embers. Your light will touch others, and theirs will touch yours, until the horizon itself begins to glow. These divine connections won't always arrive in grandeur. Sometimes they come as passing kindness, a stranger who says something that stays with you for weeks, a friend who prays for you without being asked, a moment of understanding between two weary souls who meet eyes and simply know you are being drawn into a network that heaven designed before time began. Each connection will unlock something hidden, not through teaching, but through reflection. The gifts in others will awaken the gifts in you. Iron sharpening iron. Grace, recognizing grace. Chosen one, be discerning in this season. Not everyone who approaches is meant to stay, but the ones heaven sends will carry peace in their footsteps. You won't have to question their intent. Your spirit will already know. Divine alignment feels like ease, not effort. These bonds will strengthen your calling. When you falter, they'll remind you of your promise. When you doubt, they'll echo your faith back to you. Together, you will build, not empires, but atmospheres, spaces where love breathes easily and purpose flourishes. Heavenly connection is holy chemistry. It isn't about similarity of stories, but unity of spirit. The details of your past may differ, but the essence of your journey will match. You'll recognize them by the way they see you clearly and call you higher. When light finds light, jealousy ceases, competition dissolves, and peace becomes contagious. The chosen don't compare, they combine. They move as one body, one flame, one chorus echoing through time. So watch carefully in the days ahead. The people you meet may not seem significant at first, but destiny often disguises itself in ordinary moments. The conversation that feels small may be the spark that lights a future you never expected. You've walked through seasons of pruning. Now comes the planting. Heaven is weaving community around your calling, connection around your conviction. What was once scattered will soon unite. And when you stand among these souls, these mirrors of light, you'll understand why you had to endure the silence first. Only those who've learned to burn alone can be trusted to blaze together. You are about to meet the ones who carry fire like yours, not to compete, but to complete. Together, you will illuminate corners of the world that one flame alone could never reach. The silence before the shout is the holiest sound in creation. It's the stillness where heaven inhales before releasing what has been stored for years. You stand in that moment now, the thin space between secrecy and revelation. Everything you've endured, every lesson, every tear, every quiet act of faith has led you here. The crown was given in private, but the unveiling is near. This is not an ending, it's the unveiling of what was hidden. Heaven never reveals without first refining. The season you thought was loss was the artist's sketch beneath the masterpiece. Now the outlines are filling with color. The shape of your story is finally taking form, radiant and unmistakably divine. We are reminded through the book of Haggai, chapter 2, verse 9, the glory of this present house will be greater than the glory of the former house, and in this place I will grant peace, declares the Lord Almighty. Allah, that promise belongs to you now. The new glory will not resemble the old. It won't look like revenge or recognition. It will look like rest. Heaven doesn't crown noise, it crowns stillness. The glory arriving will carry peace as its proof. October 24 is approaching, the day heaven scheduled for your solitude. It will not demand performance, only presence. Don't fill it with plans or noise. Prepare a quiet space. Light a candle. Breathe and simply be. Heaven will meet you there, not in thunder, but in tenderness. You will feel it, an invisible weight, a warmth that cannot be explained. That is not imagination, it's impartation. There once was a chosen one who doubted if such moments were real. They wanted miracles they could touch, voices they could hear. But one day, while sitting in silence, they realized that the greatest miracles are felt, not seen. The peace that wrapped around them that night was proof enough. From that moment, they understood revelation is not always loud. Sometimes it arrives as rest. You are entering that same revelation. The years of striving have ended. The era of abiding has begun. You don't need to chase purpose, it's already within you. All that's left is to let peace lead. Think of dawn breaking over the ocean. The horizon glows faintly at first. Soft as breath, the waves hush. The air waits. and then light pours through as if the sky itself exhaled. That's what heaven is about to do with your life. Every dark wave will reflect gold. Every shadow will shimmer with reason. Chosen one. Don't underestimate the beauty of this quiet reveal. The world may not notice the shift right away, but heaven already has. You are no longer the one searching, you are the one found. What was once uncertain is now settled. This next season will feel different. Peace will replace urgency. Clarity will replace confusion. You'll begin to move with unforced rhythm, guided by instinct, refined through waiting. What used to frighten you will now feel familiar. That's how you'll know you've crossed over. You are not the same soul that entered the wilderness. You have walked through fire, and yet no smoke clings to you. You have wrestled with questions, and yet faith still stands. You've faced endings, yet discovered beginnings hidden within them. That kind of resilience can't be taught. It's anointing forged through endurance. The unveiling won't require announcement. People will simply sense something different when you enter the room. It won't be your words, but your presence. The peace you carry will preach louder than any declaration. That's the evidence of glory resting quietly on a soul that said yes in the dark. Remember, heaven crowns privately so that humility can protect publicly. Don't rush to reveal everything. Guard what's sacred. Let your fruit speak before your story does. The same God who trusted you with hidden fire will reveal it in His perfect timing. You will notice signs, dreams that linger, songs that feel prophetic, sudden tears that don't hurt but heal. Pay attention. Heaven communicates in layers. What happens around October 24 may seem simple, but the shift will be lasting. A mantle unseen will rest upon you. The season of noise ends here. The new one begins with quiet authority. You won't need to explain your glow. It will be self-evident. What's coming is not spotlight, it's sunrise. And sunrise doesn't need applause, it only needs openness. So, on that sacred day, when the world moves at its usual speed, step aside for a moment. Let stillness become your sanctuary. Let peace become your prophecy. Heaven will crown you there, not with gold, but with glory. And when you rise from that silence, you'll carry a calm so deep that even storms will bow before it. This is the final silence before the shout, heaven holding its breath before calling your name aloud. The unveiling is near, the light is ready, and you are too. If these words have found you, it means your spirit was ready to remember. Every section, every whisper of this journey has been a mirror showing you what heaven already knew about you. You are the evidence that faith still breathes. You are living proof that divine timing is never late. This story was never meant to end with noise, but with knowing. And yet, if your heart feels a small spark, a stirring to respond, let that be your act of gratitude. When you see it not as a button, but as a blessing, a heartbeat echoing back into the universe, saying, I received this light. When you share, imagine releasing a dove into the open sky, carrying peace to a soul standing where you once stood. Let your sharing become a bridge between your healing and someone else's hope. And when you subscribe, picture yourself joining a circle of quiet fire, souls across the world, connected not by algorithm, but by an unseen rhythm of awakening. Every light joins another until the whole horizon glows. Then, if this message truly reached the deep place inside you, Leave a kit. Trace below. Comment, I am ready. I, not for validation, but for vibration. Those 3 words are a doorway, a declaration to heaven that your heart is open, your path aligned, and your faith alive. Each comment becomes a ripple of awakening, a spark that may guide another soul toward remembrance. And now, as this chapter closes, breathe in peace. Carry the calm with you wherever you go. The same light that found you will move through you. The message doesn't end here. It continues in the way you live, love, and lift others. This is your moment. Chosen one. The silence has spoken, and heaven smiles.